Good afternoon, everyone. And I hope everybody's week starting off on a good week and a great start to the first of the week. And I see we got some little young ladies here today at the press conference. Good to see you girls here today. Are you going to be reporters today asking me tough questions afterwards? Okay, I'll talk to you guys by yourselves. I'll let you guys have the first question today. How's that? As you know, today begins phase 2 of our Show Me Strong recovery plan. And we're excited about reopening and look forward to getting our economy going again. Earlier today, I attended an event in the final building of the Burns and McDonnell World Headquarters campus in Kansas City. And it was good to be out today, good to see some positive things going on around the state. Great to open that complex there in Kansas City. You know, one of the things when they were talking today up there, I remember the CEO up there was talking about some of the projects they had in the work. They have over 10,000 projects that are in the works across the United States that are currently going, which means our economy is picking back up. People are going to work. During this time of finishing this project, they worked entirely through the COVID-19 epidemic, through the virus, that they had people working every day. So, again, just a reminder as we move forward on the press conferences, just a reminder of all the people in those 90 days that were out there working every day, doing those essential jobs. I want to thank all of them for making sure the rest of us could do what we needed to do our jobs or to stay at home. But I want to thank everybody for what they done on that. Tomorrow we're going to make a little trip to Lincoln County. Some exciting news up there with workforce development. That'll be a big news tomorrow. We're looking forward to going up there to be able to do that. I also met with some gentlemen from Oregon and Kansas this weekend in my hometown of Bolivar. About a business expansion, about 250 new employees. So I think all of that put together is good news for us moving forward. I reminded at the briefing in Kansas City today that just a little over 90 days ago, we had record low unemployment in the state of Missouri. We had workforce development pieces. We were putting people into training programs all over this state to meet the demands of that workforce. We had infrastructure as a top priority. All of those demands will still be out there as we move forward. All of those demands were, and it's just a matter till we get back on track to be able to do all those things. It's going to take us a few months. This has set us back. But again, those opportunities are still out there, and I look forward to being able to meet those goals that we had back in January as we move into this coming January. While the state is fully reopening in phase 2, I want to clarify a few things regarding long-term care facilities. Since the residents in these facilities are more vulnerable to COVID-19, the reopening of long-term care facilities will occur gradually and in phases. I think we all know the risk there that goes along with the nursing homes and with the care facilities. We've got to be careful how we do that. So I want to make sure that I kind of want to emphasize that to make sure there's no misunderstandings on that. I know this has been extremely hard on Missourians in facilities and their loved ones. And we are committed to partnering with long-term care facilities and local health authorities to reopen safely. The Department of Health and Senior Services provided guidance yesterday for facilities who are ready to allow outside and window visitations, assuming proper safety protocols are in place. Guidance is also being provided for facilities that want to allow communal dining and group activities. As I said last week, local officials will still have the ability to put further measures in place. The same goes for nursing homes. It will be up to individual facilities to decide, consistent with DHS guidelines, how to move forward based on any local orders still in place and the current situation in their facilities. There is a lot that goes into fully reopening these facilities, and more information about reopening plans will be shared later in the week. We all need to work together to reopen the facilities responsibly to keep these Missourians as safe as we can. With Missouri reopening phase 2, testing continues to be a major priority. We are still making great progress with our state testing plan and will continue to take an aggressive approach throughout the reopening. This will be the key to giving Missourians the confidence to move forward and to re-engage in the economy. Early on COVID-19, Missouri was experiencing record high numbers of unemployment claims. But as businesses reopened across the state and more Missourians go back to work, we have seen unemployment claims drop significantly. Initial unemployment claims have dropped from over 100,000 in late March to just under 20,000 the first week of June. This is good news and shows that we are recovering and making progress. Today, Director Hugh is here to give us an update. Director Hugh?
Thank you very much, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. As we move into Phase 2 of the Show Me Recovery Strong Plan, the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations is closely monitoring the data on the employment situation to support employers and workers as they reopen businesses and phase back workers into the workplace. We know that Missouri consistently tracks at or below the national unemployment rates. In February 2020, we were at 3.2% when the nation was at 3.8%. When initial claims hit that historic, record-breaking high in 1 month in April of 2020, the U.S. national rate jumped to 14.7%, and Missouri's rate was at 9.7%, with about 305,000 jobs lost. Since the height of the coronavirus outbreak, initial claims filed for regular unemployment and for the new Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program have been steadily declining week by week. To date, the Department has paid over $2 billion in claims to eligible Missourians. The more telling data point that we consider when evaluating the unemployment situation is the continued weekly requests for payments. We hit our highest weekly request for payments across all programs, including the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program that was for self-employed and gig workers in mid-April, when 440,000 individuals filed a request for payment. But by the 1st of June, that number has declined significantly to about 350,000 people. While unemployment is still at a historic high, these numbers are definitely trending downward. While COVID-19 had negatively impacted job postings from March through the first part of May, it's a testament to the resiliency of Missourians that we started bouncing back by mid-May. On the Show Me Strong Recovery Plan website, there's a data tab that includes a dashboard that displays Census small business survey results for Missouri. By the beginning of June, we were back to January job posting numbers and continue to climb. That may be in part because 73% of small businesses that responded in April had maintained their employee levels, neither increasing nor decreasing the number of workers. By the 1st of June, 77% of those small businesses who responded indicated that they were maintaining the same employee levels, neither increasing nor decreasing the number of employees. To further support these economic recovery efforts, DOLR is working to assist businesses and workers transitioning back to work. The unemployment program in this country was designed and is intended to be a temporary partial replacement of income. It was never intended to replace anyone's total income. But as rapidly as the coronavirus impacted the country, the federal government quickly passed and set up federal programs that they administered through the state unemployment system. Those federal assistance programs and corresponding waivers under the CARES Act were designed to help the economy, businesses, and families through a time of total shutdown. Since that total shutdown, we've had a chance to evaluate how those actions provided assistance during especially turbulent circumstances. Since March 28th, eligible Missouri claimants have been receiving an average weekly benefit payment of nearly $900, which includes the $600 federal supplement. According to a recent University of Chicago study, 2/3 of people getting unemployment are receiving more than what they earned from their jobs. 20%, or 1 out of 5 workers who are receiving unemployment benefits, are getting 2 times or more in their benefits than what they used to make. Here in Missouri, the weekly benefit payment is in the 152 to 161% median benefit replacement. But for us, that means that we are slightly lower than some of our neighboring states of Kentucky, Arkansas, Iowa, and Oklahoma. We all know that a system that rewards individuals to be unemployed is unsustainable. It is time for employers and workers to have thoughtful and productive conversations on plans and steps that they are taking now to plan on how to return to work. So now, as more businesses open, here's what we're doing to support employers and workers to transition them back to the workplace by reinstating some of the items that had been waived because of the pandemic. With the state now reopened, as of July 5th, those on unemployment that wish to continue to receive benefits, including the $600 federal supplement that is available through July 25th, will be required to perform work search activities that had been waived for those that had filed a coronavirus-related unemployment claim. Work search activities will be required of anyone on regular unemployment, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, extended benefits, and the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. Those with an employer-submitted recall date, enrolled in improved training, and those employees on the Shared Work Program will all be exempt. All others will be required to perform and report 3 work search activities per week to remain eligible for benefits. Union members with a hiring or referral hall may contact their hall 3 times per week or attend training for the required number of work search activities. Those work search activities may include applying for jobs online or in person, attending job fairs or job interviews, or a reemployment service or skills workshop. Part-time employment during a week will also be credited on a per-day basis. Our colleagues at the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development stand ready to help Missourians with a variety of work search activities. The Missouri Job Centers are available to assist unemployed workers with these requirements by providing customized job searches through jobs.mo.gov, job fairs, reemployment services, workshops to help develop and refine skills, and other training programs. Many of these services can be delivered virtually or even in new ways, like drive-through job fairs. Employers are also encouraged to post their job openings on the jobs.mo.gov website. As employees are returning to work, also beginning on July 5th, employers' accounts will once again be charged for unemployment claims. If employers wish to reduce the amount of charges being made against their accounts, we encourage them to report employees to whom they have offered suitable work and who have chosen not to return to work, or employees that are receiving payment now through the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. Employers can also report either work refusals or PPP wages through our website at labor.mo.gov. And while we realize that not everyone can be brought back full-time into the workplace immediately, many Missouri employers are now taking advantage of the Missouri Shared Work Program to reopen with fewer employee hours. The program can help transition employees safely back to the workplace while observing social distancing and providing flexible scheduling. The program helps to reduce labor and turnover costs while retaining skilled members of the workforce for that anticipated return to full operations. Workers keep their jobs, receive prorated unemployment benefits to supplement lost wages, and maintain their employee benefits. Employers file weekly reports of what hours the employees worked, so workers never even need to file a claim for weekly payment. And these employees do not have to worry about any weekly earnings cap. And through July 25th, those eligible for at least $1 of shared work unemployment benefits will still be eligible for the additional $600 federal supplement each week that they're receiving unemployment benefits. That makes shared work a program and an incentive for employees to return to work even on a reduced schedule because they are still able to draw some unemployment benefit and the federal supplement while working. For more information about shared work, visit labor.mo.gov/shared-work. And to ease both employer and employee concerns about returning to work safely, Dolar's Division of Labor Standards is conducting free on-site and virtual safety consultations to help not only identify safety hazards, but also to suggest cost-effective solutions to keep employees and customers safe. To sign up for a consultation with either the On-Site Safety and Health Consultation Program or the Worker Safety Program, visit our Safe at Work portal at labor.mo.gov/safe-at-work. While we know that the coronavirus is still impacting our work lives, we are optimistic that by fostering an environment and providing resources for employers and workers to consider their options and lay out a plan to phase back into reopening, the lives of Missourians will continue to improve. A very special thank you to my colleagues at the Missouri Department of Labor and throughout the public workforce system who have been working tirelessly to serve Missouri's workers and businesses during this challenging time of response and recovery. While we may never completely return to exactly the same workplaces, work processes, and lifestyles that we had prior to COVID-19, we can all commit to finding new ways and resources that support Missouri as a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Anna, thank you very much, and thank you for your team for what all they've done during this crisis on that. Today, Director Tidball is also here today to give us an update on the Department of Social Services on that. Jennifer?
Thank you, Governor. Excessive summer heat is dangerous and an additional hardship for many Missouri families struggling financially and unable to afford their cooling bills. We are grateful to the utility companies for suspending action on disconnect notices. However, that suspension cannot last forever. As utility companies get back to business, today our department is announcing an additional $15 million for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. That helps Missourians with payments for their summer cooling bills from June 1 through September 30th of this year. The additional dollars doubles the maximum benefit amount to $600 per household and allows the Department of Social Services to serve a greater number of Missourians. This program is available to Missouri households with household incomes up to 135% of the poverty level. That's a monthly income of $2,400 for a family of 3 and $2,897 for a family of 4. And the other requirement is less than $3,000 in resources such as bank account balances. The Department of Social Services partners with local community organizations to administer the Energy Assistance Program. Additional information on service areas by organization can be found on our website at dss.mo.gov. All you need to do is click on the DSS COVID-19 response banner and you'll be able to find that information. Additionally, citizens can call our toll-free number 855-FSD-INFO. Missourians may also want to connect with their local utility companies. Many utility providers around the state may be able to provide information on other programs to help households facing a hardship. Today, I also want to remind Missouri families of a one-time food assistance benefit if that family received free and reduced price lunch during the school year or was eligible to receive free and reduced price lunch during the school year. This benefit, called PEBT, helps families of students with incomes of up to 185% of the federal poverty level. The maximum benefit for a child is $302, although that benefit will be based on the number of days that the student would have been in school and receiving free and reduced price lunch services. The Department of Social Services and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, in partnership with local school districts, have issued this one-time food benefit to more than 148,000 households. We estimate that there are 241,000 households available for this benefit. So we've only had a take-up rate of about 60% of the households. The deadline for application has been extended to July 7th. Families may access the application online by going to mydss.mo.gov www.untitled.gov and clicking on the COVID-19 food stamp information banner. Or, again, they can call our toll-free number at 855-FSD-INFO to get an application by mail. Part of the Show Me Strong Recovery Plan includes the Department of Social Services resuming federally required program activities. Starting in July, the United States Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Services resumes its requirement for Missourians to complete periodic recertification forms to verify the household still qualifies for food stamps or SNAP benefits. This week, the Family Support Division in the Department of Social Services will mail recertification information to over 16,000 SNAP households due for recertification in the month of July. There is a cover letter outlining the 3 steps that a family needs to take to complete the recertification and submit the SNAP application. SNAP households receiving this information must complete and submit the application to the Family Support Division to verify their household remains eligible for SNAP benefits. To ensure no delay in benefits, we are asking that families submit this paperwork by July 15th. All food stamp participants will receive and must complete their recertification form every year, or every 2 years if that individual is age blind or disabled. Missourians having questions about this program or other DSS services may be able to contact the Dss Virtual Assistant, available on the Department of Social Services website 24 hours a day, or again, call our toll-free number, 855-FSD-INFO, and that number is available Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Finally, during Phase 2 of the Show Me Recovery Plan, Missourians are returning to the workplace and others may need assistance to get back into the workforce. I want to remind Missourians that are eligible or receiving temporary assistance cash grant or SNAP benefits that they can take advantage of no-cost programs the Department of Social Services has to help prepare, find, and keep a job. Both the Skill Up program and the Missouri Work Assistance programs work with individuals to create an individual employment plan with overcoming challenges to work, career planning, and keeping employment. We are able to help individuals get short-term training in fields such as healthcare, truck driving, HVAC, and computer skills. We're able to help develop job skill training and work experience, learn how to interview, create a resume. These employment and training services can be invaluable when individuals are competing for jobs. To learn more, visit the Department of Social Services website at dss.mo.gov. Thank you, Governor Parson, for providing the opportunity for me to share this vital information with Missourians, and we as a department look forward to supporting the needs of citizens of our state during Phase 2 of the Show Me Recovery Strong Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Both of those ladies had a lot of information in those press briefings today, but let me assure you this, to people out there that depend on those services, it is an important issue for each and every one of them that go through that. Before I close here, Dr. Dr. Williams is also here with us today to answer questions if you have any questions. In conclusion, we're encouraged by the progress we've already making, and we continue to be hopeful for the future. But again, we have to remember that COVID-19 is still out there. Even though Missouri is now open, it is still highly encouraged to practice social distancing. Be responsible and use common sense. Practice good hygiene, and if you feel comfortable wearing a face covering, wear a face covering. If we all continue to be proactive and protect one another, we will recover more and more each day. Thank you, and God bless. Kelly, you want to go with questions today?
Director Hughes.
Anna.
Hi, Director.
Hi.
I have two.
Okay.
Is there a way for employers to be supported in paying for testing for their employees? COVID-19 testing?
Is there any support through the unemployment system?
Not through unemployment, but just in general.
I think there is a statewide testing plan and initiatives, and working with our colleagues at the Department of Economic Development, they've been kind of leading the way in talking with employers across the state in terms of their testing needs and their concerns and their access to that. So those are things that if you take a look at the Show Me Strong Recovery page, that there is additional information on there related to testing and resources available for that.
And if I'm a person who, for example, works at a sensitive long-term care facility or a prison, some kind of congregate facility, and say a partner or another family member at home gets sick, is there a system in place for me to stay home and still be paid even though I'm not sick?
I think individual employers do have pieces in place to address their employees who may be under those circumstances. Certainly, if we have additional questions that can be addressed by Dr. Williams in terms of some of the guidance on there, but I think employers, such as the ones that you mentioned there, do have very deliberative and a great deal of communication that's going out to their employees in case of circumstances like that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. Director Hugh Bryan Houseworth here at Missouri Net. Appreciate you taking my question. On the work search requirement, I've heard from a number of our rural listeners that they're concerned about lack of internet access. And on that search requirement, do you know if the career centers, as we used to call them, are they open now, and will they have an opportunity to do their searching on the internet at a place like that? Thank you.
Certainly. So I know a number of our career centers are opening up in the different locations, and so they really need to check with their local career center in terms of their operational status. There are opportunities to call them and schedule appointments to have one-on-one sessions over the phone if they in fact do not have access to the internet themselves. And so there are a whole variety of ways to satisfy those work search requirements. But I think the most important thing is that those who are unemployment, whether you're planning to return to your current employer or you've had discussions with them about the schedule of returning you, phasing you back into the workplace, it's an opportunity really for every worker to take stock with what their skill sets and experiences are, and then the sort of abundant resources that we really do have out there to really address the employability of an individual. So that is not just one job at a time, but really offering them a whole spectrum of resources to make sure that they're able and to take advantage of the work opportunities that do come about.
Hi, Director. I was wondering, I know you mentioned talking about or having a system for employers to report employees that are refuse to come back to work. Have you seen a large number of employees that are either afraid to come back to work or refusing to come back to work, in like if their employer is providing a suitable place to come back to?
Yeah, certainly. So we have instructions on the website in terms of what constitutes suitable work and the offering of that. And so, we do have several thousand employers who have already either been on the website or have done some report of employees that they've offered suitable work to and are not returning. And so by getting that information, again, not to say that individuals don't have circumstances that may allow them to continue to be eligible for unemployment, but certainly if an employer offers you suitable work and you're thinking that, well, I can just continue to collect unemployment, that is just not the case here. In addition, I would really caution workers who are thinking about not returning to work because they think, oh, I've got this benefit, I'm getting an additional $600 federal supplement. If in fact the department determines that you have been overpaid a benefit, you not only owe the baseline weekly amount, but also that $600 amount. That is debt that we are obligated to come and collect from you. It's a debt that cannot be discharged through bankruptcy or anything like that. So I would be very careful and kind of consider those options there, because we don't want people to be in a situation where, again, they think that the benefit is out there. And just as a reminder, those benefits are also taxable. So for individuals who are making more now on benefits, their tax bill is going to be higher too, and the department will issue 1099s come January of next year. So a lot of things to kind of consider. Certainly each individual worker has to think through what their own circumstances are and the type of work that's being offered for them to come back to. But again, we think that that is an opportunity for both employers and workers to have a good conversation on what the phase-in plan is for people to return safely to work.
Hi, I was wondering when you do plan to start the search activities. Do they have to start them starting next week?
Well, after July 4th, the requirements will be in place. So I would say in the meantime, take a look and search all these different platforms that we've offered you in terms of different resources that are available, whether it's at the career centers, it's at mojobs.gov. There are a lot of community-based organizations, as well as some of the programs that Jennifer highlighted that DSS also offers through some of the food assistance programs. Those are all great places to kind of start and see, because oftentimes there is overlap with the ability to utilize participation in those programs for the work search requirements. So again, take time to take a look at that, and also make sure that workers are in communication with their employers.
All right, we'll take one final question.
Madeline McLean with KQ2 in St. Joseph. So we've had some outbreaks at our meatpacking plants. Is there a similar process to report your employer for an unsuitable work environment, since there is a database and you guys are collecting information on people who are perhaps fraudulently collecting unemployment? So is there a counter system for people to report the employers the same way that employers can report employees?
Well, certainly there are avenues to report workplace safety issues if that's a concern, and that's not at the Department of Labor. That's actually handled by the federal U.S. Department of Labor for the state of Missouri. But through my department, we do not have that.
And is there an appeals process? So let's say, you're being reported by your employer, but you want to reach out and say, hey, wait, is there something more here?
Certainly there is an opportunity for claimants to also appeal that.
Thank you, Director.
Okay.
Director Tidwell?
Hi, Director.
Hi.
What is the status of the crisis counseling program that you all applied for, the federal program? Like, have you been approved, or, and if so, for how much?
That's in the Department of Mental Health. It's not in the Department of Social Services. So, yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
Dr. Williams?
Hey, Dr. Williams.
Hey.
I got an email last night from a doctor in the southwest part of the state.
Yes.
Saying that he was concerned about rural hospitals in Carthage and Neosho being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So with your monitoring capacity for hospital occupancy, is that broken down by region? Can you see how far people would have to travel for hospitalization and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I just talked to a doc. We may have talked to the same doctor. I just talked to one about 15 minutes ago. I'm on a call tonight with Nate Smith, who's my counterpart in Arkansas. We're on the board of directors of ASTO together. Nate's president of ASTO. As you know, we're paying very close attention to Berry and Newton and McDonald and Jasper County, and that's the purpose of the conference call tonight. In Arkansas, northwest Arkansas, and southwest Missouri, we're seeing an increase of cases. I think it was 37 yesterday, 37 today in certain counties. So we are going to get our two teams together tonight to look at options there and work with our physicians and our hospitals and our health departments in all those counties across the state. As you know, those are associated with meatpacking plants, and there is people going back and forth. But, as the governor has said, as we open up today, and we're incredibly appreciative of that, and we'll talk a little bit more on that in a second, we still have to have the ability to look statewide every day and see if there are outbreaks, and we consider this an outbreak. So yes, we will be going in there in different capacity. We just sent down, I had a phone call this morning, we just sent down 2 contact tracers and an interpreter, I think. A second language is spoken by many people, and they were having some trouble with that. I talked to them this morning, and so we're sending down an interpreter to help with that. So yes, that's part of our strategy. Is as we open up, we've always been aware that there will be locations throughout the state. Where it happens to be right now Southwest Missouri, and we will be jumping on that today.
Hi, Dr.
Hey, Philip.
To kind of piggyback off my earlier question for Dr. Hugh, if I'm an employer with non-symptomatic employees, what are my options for getting them tested as part of a plan to reopen beyond the community testing?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on what type of business you're talking about, what kind of industry, and we're looking at that now, just trying to figure out, working with our counties and our local health departments, just what the role of sentinel testing is for that, what the role of supporting our local counties is in doing that. So we're analyzing that now. What resources would be available for those different industries? Rob Dixon, who's been very integral in that, is very interested in just making sure that we provide to our employers all resources as we move forward. I know the governor's been traveling around the state with some exciting new economic opportunities, and we think from a public health standpoint that we need to do all we can. You've heard us say many times that it's a hand-in-glove approach, that the hand may be the economy, but you need the glove of public health to protect it, and they each work for each other. So we'll get you more specifics later.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
Are you worried at all about a second wave? I'm specifically curious about an area like the Lake of the Ozarks. We saw another restaurant employee test positive today. What are your thoughts on a possible second wave with somewhere like that, with tourists coming in and out?
Yeah, I think that I don't know, I wouldn't call it a second wave. What I do worry about is clusters and outbreaks, and I do believe those will happen, whether it's through travel, and we've seen some of that. You mentioned one. And so, or whether it's vulnerable populations. So we know that going forward, as the governor said many times, COVID-19 as of June 16th didn't disappear in Missouri. And so we have to be prepared to watch closely, working with our local partners every day to make sure that we get in there early before it gains momentum and do our testing and isolate it. So I'd call those not a second wave. I'd call that more of a cluster or an outbreak.
Thank you.
Yes.
I thank you, Dr. Williams.
Sorry, I have one more question. Sorry. Hi, Dr. Williams. I was just, so the governor mentioned the phased-in approach of getting long-term care facilities. Yeah. And so I just kind of wanted to clarify again, is there any way that you are enforcing those guidelines? Are they restrictions, or are they just recommendations? Kind of just another clarification on that.
Yeah. So what we issued yesterday was just guidance for visitation. We had issued an order that expired last night at midnight about restricting visitation. That's different than reopening the facilities, which is a CMS process that we'll be talking more about that later. But I know it's been incredibly important to the governor and all of us. I got an email yesterday from a man, I believe I read it correctly. He hasn't been with his wife. They've been married 65 years for 2.5, 3 months. And so the guidelines we issued yesterday will enable them under certain guidance to come outside, everybody's screened, so they can at least be together until we can move into that more phased-in approach. So it's really about visitation. And it's incredibly gratifying yesterday to issue that, because when I think we look back at Missouri, collaboration will be a huge key as to why we are able to do today what so many states haven't been able to do or can't do. I just got off a phone call, not to digress, but with 1,000 school districts, people from schools. And you look at Margie and Azora, all they're doing with prevention as we talk about our schools coming back and our universities. It's just been real gratifying that we've gotten to a place in Missouri through the works of a lot of people, including all our citizens, that we're able to get to that place that so many other people can't. Thank you.
Governor Parson?
Let me just add something to what Dr. Williams just said there. From personal experience, my mom and dad both passed away in the nursing home. But it was over a 4-year period of time. And I think one of the things that to me has been something I've been concerned about since day one when we kind of restricted the nursing home, and still the nursing homes are high risk. That's just all there is to it. But people need to go in there and see their loved ones. They need to be able to touch, they need to be able to see, they need to be able to speak. But we got to figure out a way to do it safely. So Dr. Williams, I asked him to work with the facilities out there to figure out how we could start opening these up where we could do it safely. But, it's just simply you can't throw the doors open and let everybody go in there, again, knowing that that's high risk. So we're headed that way. We're wanting to make sure, probably won't be as fast as some would like, But it's important to me to make sure people get to see those family members that are in there, because I'm just from experience. You never know when the last day is going to be. So, you just got to prepare for those things. So we're trying to make that available as soon as we can. But again, safety's got to be a priority on both sides of that. So all right.
So you just talked about the nursing homes. There's an outbreak in Gentry County, Missouri, where 8 residents died in a 55-person home. So, and they actually did community-wide testing. The boxed-in strategy, still 8 people died. Is there an updated strategy for these nursing homes as you guys open up and there's more chances of letting this virus in to such a...
I don't know if there's an updated strategy. I mean, the strategy would be we can do a lot more testing. We can target a lot more what Dr. Williams just said. Well, we couldn't do that 30 days ago like we can today. We can literally just take one nursing home and go in there and test everybody, even on a continuous basis. If we had to do that, we could continue to do that testing. So I think much more efficient, I would say, than what we were 30 days ago at doing that. We would be able to do that. So, and we're well those nursing homes. I mean, you got to talk about the employees that go in there, the different employees that go from different nursing home to provide services. So we're much more aware of that to be able to do that testing. But I think we can move in there as fast as we possibly can at any facility and start testing right away.
So I just have one more follow-up, just kind of on the nursing homes, like the guidelines. So there's no order or restrictions. It's just guide. Like how is it enforced? I guess I'm just kind of confused about.
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Let me double check with that. Dr. Williams just here a minute ago. Tomorrow maybe we'll try to make sure and address that real good. The guidelines would be, and then you have the local levels that still could have restrictions in place that could still do that. So that's still out there. But for the most part, to the Department of Health and the nursing homes, I think they're all on the same pathway here. So when we say guidance or orders, I think we're all aware that it needs to be done. I think we're trying to find out how do you do it. So it's not a question, I don't think people are actually breaking the law or breaking an order. We're just trying to figure out what is the safest way to do that. But I'll be glad. Dr. Williams will be up here tomorrow. He can get in details on that. And maybe I will too. Maybe I'll learn a little more about it between now and then.
Thank you.
Yes, Governor, I have 2 questions, one on a jobs question and another on policy. When you came out a few minutes ago, I believe I heard you say there are 250 new jobs coming to Bolivar. Maybe I didn't hear that right, but if you could elaborate on that. And then on a policy question, this weekend, State Auditor Nicole Galloway addressed the Missouri Democrats, and she called for you to issue an order to allow anyone to vote absentee this year without notarization. Any comment on that, sir? Thank you.
Yeah. Let me go back to the Bolivar. It wasn't Bolivar. It was in, I met with them in Bolivar. Small town, pretty close to Bolivar. I don't know that I'm quite at liberty to say just exactly where that is down home, but it absolutely it'd be a great opportunity for people in a small town down there to do that. There's a few things still in the make to make sure that gets finished up. But it's exciting news, and it'll have to do with agriculture. So it's always a good thing for me when I see those new jobs coming in, and especially with the situation we've been in. Look, I'm not for sure what the comments were made over this weekend, but let me address the voting if I think I'm understanding. I assume that is what what I want to say a pretty radical change in the voting system if you're talking about what they're pushing on the national level, which I'm sure that's what she was if it was a Democrat event, and that's basically just stuff the ballot and let anybody vote with no verification, and I think that probably goes along with that. I think in order to make those kind of changes, number one, that should be legislatively that does that, whatever changes we're going to make in the future. What we're trying to do is find a solution between now and the end of the year to deal with this virus, and we all should be focused on that. And what have we done to do that? I think, first of all, when this took place, we moved the election that was set to go in that early election. We moved it to June, keeping in mind the safety of the people out there to figure out how we could do that. By June the 2nd, there wasn't hardly any changes that could be made. There was no legislation. We just simply had to move the date, and there was no time to make hardly any changes into that. Since that time, we just signed the legislation a week or so ago that still makes voting accountable. And I think, one, you got to protect the integrity of the vote, and you also got to protect the integrity of the election. So what we did is the people that are still concerned with the virus out there, those high-risk people now have the opportunity that can get a ballot mailed to them, and they can be still part of the process of voting. For other people that have to do that, if it does require a notary, which it does, we now have it where you don't have to go in person to do a notary. That was waived through one of the executive orders, and also that was in the bill. Again, all of those things take place between now and the end of the year to protect that election. You know, when you start talking about some of the things they're pushing over there, which I would consider radical changes to the election process, you know, there needs to be some legislative action on that to see where the people of the state of Missouri wants to go, not just where me as governor or any candidate wants to go. There's a lot to that. And I think we got to be careful with changing a system that's been in place for a long time, that's done what it's supposed to do. But again, I'll just finish with saying you got to make sure to verify the vote, but you also got to make sure and verify the election on that.
Hi, Governor. Today, the President signed an executive order for urging police reform and says that cops need more funding and possibly more education. Here in the state of Missouri, what do you feel needs to be done, if anything, including, you know, just a week or so ago, we had the officer in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area, suspended. What is your reaction to the President today?
Yeah, I think anytime you look at any profession, you can always look at ways to do things better. Law enforcement's no exception to that. I've said that publicly. But I also think you got to realize you got to make sure and take care of law enforcement also. I think it's pretty disingenuous when you classify all law enforcement officers into one group setting and say we're all bad, but because people serve in law enforcement. I don't think you should do that, no whether it's law enforcement or anyone else, be classified in that way. And I think that's kind of what's happened with the national level, it seems to be, with the police officers. I'm not sure what the President signed today, to be right honest about. I haven't seen that, so I don't know what his executive order was. But if you want to take a look at police departments and say, hey, is there things they can do better? Sure. I don't have a problem with that. One hand's out there saying, okay, you defund the police department. Okay, what does that mean? What does that really mean? Does that mean you're just taking us, you're just trying to go after the police officers, the police departments? But what does that mean for service at the end of the day? Does that mean you're going to respond to homicides? Are you going to respond to accidents? Are you going to respond to domestic violence? And you just kind of go on down the list of 911 calls that come in daily. You still got to be able to do that, and that's going to cost some money to do that. And I think it's important to remember before all this protest and what happened in Minnesota, and other things have happened across the country both ways in a situation of law enforcement. I mentioned the other day, 38 law enforcement officers have been shot in the last 50 weeks, but most people don't know about that. But they've just been shot, simply that, on that the same way other people have been mistreated. And what happened in the Minnesota situation and what it's done for what people have now, or what we're trying to do to law enforcement, less than a year ago, the major cities in this state was asking for help with law enforcement officers because of the homicide rates, because of the crime rates. They were wanting more officers on the street. Matter of fact, we sent the Highway Patrol in to assist. We sent people from the Attorney General's office in to assist. All kinds of different avenues we've assisted in. So, when we talk about law enforcement moving forward, this is not something that's going to change just automatically overnight. We're going to have to look and see what is really the end result we want, and then what role does the governor, what role does the state play in that? But again, these are all problems that are out there, and those problems are not going to go away. We're talking about.
Last question.
Hi, Governor. Can you give an update on what the status of the National Guard is when it comes to supporting law enforcement, and will that state of emergency end anytime soon?
Yeah, I think the question is what is the role of helping the law enforcement? Is that what the role was?
Are they still doing that at this moment, basically?
Are they still helping law enforcement? Yeah, I think we still have people in place to do that if we need it, But again, I think there was a little misrepresentation of the National Guard when it first came out, because I think people actually thought we were sending the National Guard out in the streets and they were going to be taking care of the protesters and things of that nature. They never did play that role. They played a support role for law enforcement. So where law enforcement needed them, such as in Kansas City, I'll use for example, they guarded the police station, St. Louis, some of the same issues that they did. But as far as being on the front line, they never was. But they're still out there to support law enforcement. But we're dwindling those troops down. I believe I'd have to check with the general to find out just how much. But we're well aware that we're putting people back on there because the demand's still in the National Guard. A lot of things going on. They're helping with testing also.
Do you expect to end that emergency order on the civil unrest anytime soon?
Yeah, I can't hear the question. I'm sorry.
The emergency order on civil unrest is different than the COVID emergency order. So
For the National Guard?
Right.
Yeah, the emergency order will stay in place for the Guard. Simply, for multiple reasons, we do that. One, for financing, to get that support for that, on that. All right, thank you, Governor. Yep. All right, thanks everybody for being here today. Thank you.